Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I'm your host, DBJ, and today is Future Friday, where we get to talk about modern day gaming and science fiction, but more specifically, talking about a upcoming role playing game that we are designing live, seat of the pants, all the mistakes, all the problems, and then all of the great stuff. Of course, given away for free because. Uh, the vast majority of the aspects of creating a tabletop role-playing game are full-time jobs. I'm just one individual, so it's best to do it by a hive mind and not have to put on the cap of all the other job functions. But I also love talking about science fiction, and I think science fiction in the tabletop role-playing sphere is very much not ignored, but it's kind of like the unfortunate stepchild of the other role playing games. And so I'm a huge science fiction head. I love speculative fiction, the giant question of what if. So let's get into our co-hosts who are here live. And if you are here live 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, then you too are a co-host. Hey, TA. Yeah, I know. I always, unfortunately, with combination of my producer and me being a person of a certain age, sometimes things happen just before I go live, and I'm like, shit lords is like, habitat is code for space dungeon, right? You ain't wrong. Yeah, it pretty much is. Orcs in one room, zombies in the next. Yeah, in space. Why don't they talk to each other? Because they don't know how to operate the doors. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, a dungeon inside a gargantuan monster in space. Drew says, sadly, the part of the hive mind that is me is today suffering from migraines again. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that. All right, so today we're going to, okay, again, this is going to be a hodgepodge of things, mainly from, let me turn this caption off. At the bottom. There we go. Mainly from a number of notes I've been writing from like random tables and things. I'd like to describe what the physical environment will be that's explored, and I also want to show you guys a bunch of other things that are make up this entire development. So first, let's go into the habitats. As you know, I am a fan of The Expanse. If you're not aware of The Expanse takes a more air quotes realistic look at what our solar system would be. In this setting, the technology has advanced a bit, but there are no wormholes, there are no alien, the classic alien species from outside our solar system. It's just us stuck inside the Oort cloud and all of the things inside. So one of the truisms of this world is that space is big, space is large, it's huge, it's empty, and it's also small and tight, and you can't really escape. Um, Everyone that has tried to, humanity has traveled beyond the Oort cloud, but some feel that they're still traveling. It may be dozens, hundreds of years, even longer to find, to get to the next star systems and things like that. So that is not part of this setting. It is about how humanity is surviving with enough technology to create a utopia. So why isn't it one? And the other truism of this, the meta part of it is this entire game, this entire setting that these people live in, and those of us playing the game, is a social experiment. Everything about this world is a question of, if you had all of the resources at your fingertips, how would you live your life? And how, as much of a hero you are in your own mind and in your own world, how much more of a villain are you to everyone else? And so if you walked amongst the street, people who never played role-playing games, and you asked them what their perfect life would be, and the perfect life for their whether it's like economically and socially and biologically and politically and all those things, and you said, okay, if you could be this way or live this way or something, would you, and what would it look like? You'd get some pretty bizarre pretty, if people are true and truthful and such, and imaginative, I think you get some really strange conversations and developments and habitats where you turn your head like this and go like, "Ooh, oh shit, I ain't never gonna visit these people the way they think they want to live," right? Mm-mm-mm. It's, wonder if it's a weather thing on both ends. Mm-mm-mm. The Yan King says, "Oh wow, I spaced out and accidentally showed up on time." That's what happens. That's a big loop. TA says, "I would rather not have the issue that make migraines possible." Oh, you guys are suffering. Why are you here? Take care of yourselves, guys. You don't owe me shit. Like, don't you you can always come back. You're always welcome. Don't don't stress yourselves out unless my dulcet tones or something that soothes the psychology, in which case I appreciate it. If for no other reason, then I can bore you to death. uh, all right. So allow me to share with you. Let's see. What do I want to share first? Let's go with. I've got a ton of stuff. Okay. Let's share out some visuals, and then I will share out some. Um, yeah. Let's share this out. I'll share out some visuals, and then I'll share out some written materials, just so there's at least something to see or watch or view or something like that. Because no need to show my ugly face. All right. So those who do not know, let's do this. Just this is a this file is going to end up having to be split many ways. But for those who don't know, this is a hyper close-up look at the current state of the character sheet. And what I'm trying to do is have pretty much 99% of the rules um, uh, on the character sheet. So you know how to play the game just by the character sheet. And um, this one is busy. There's one without all this stuff on it. And then I'm going to show you some more of the visuals. So for those who don't know, there are attributes and approaches. This is a 2d12 system, roll high, not over system, and which means that you will have stats. It's at it being a d12 system, your stats will go between 1 and 12, more likely between 2 and 11, or maybe 2 and 10. Anyway, and you will roll two 12-sided dice and try to roll as high as you can, but not over one attribute you pick and one approach you pick. The attributes are force, flex, and fulcrum. And the approaches, there's 6 of them: bold, careful, focused, subtle, swift, and wild. You'll notice that there's no strength, there's no dexterity, um, nothing like that. This is more closely related to how you do a thing rather than measuring your capabilities against other things. So if you have a force of 5 and a bold of 3 or 7 or whatever, you roll 2d12. You don't, if your bold is 7, you want to roll between 1 and 7. If you roll above that, you miss it. And of course, you get to pick which dice go for which thing. And then the entire collection of your force, flex, and fulcrum equal strive. Strive is like stress and drive combined together. That word, it's a little bit weird on the tongue, so I may change that. But essentially, your strive is like willpower, um, uh, endurance, luck, um, that kind of thing. And when choosing between force, flex, and fulcrum, force goes first, flex goes second, fulcrum goes third. All people in force happen simultaneously. Everyone doing flex happens simultaneously, and everyone doing fulcrum happens simultaneously. Um, Failure to perform an action of some sort using force will have the most consequences. Flex will have minimum consequences, and fulcrum will have pretty much 0 to no consequences. And then, of course, the approaches makes sense for their names. Whichever one you're using, you are not using any of the others. So if you're being careful, you're not necessarily being swift, wild, or subtle at the same time. There's some narrative element to that, but that's what it is. And then we come down here. Here's the other part of the game, which is what you have in your pockets, and whatever the number of pockets you have is equal to your stride. So it's all kind of brought together. Everything in your pockets is either gear or baggage. Gear is all your good stuff. Baggage is all your negative stuff. Baggage bumps gear. So every time something terrible happens to you, physically, mentally, emotionally, economically, those things are generally known as baggage, and it starts filling your pockets. It's not a physical filling your pockets. It's more like you're carrying around these terrible things, baggage, and then those things start bumping your gear out, your positive traits. This is the good character sheet. I'm working on a vehicle character sheet. So we do have there's and all these names are placeholders right now. I don't particularly like the way they feel, but we have engines and maneuvers. So on your spacecraft, you have a vector, arc, and axis. Again, they operate like the attributes of above. So vector goes first, arc in the middle, axis last, and vector straight line, arc kind of going around a corner, making a curve, axis, three-dimensional axis, X, Y, Z, a little bit more careful. And then we have the maneuvers, signal, scan, aiming, cloak, burn, and flip. And those are placeholders as well. And then I will get into, these are many of the rules, healing, and then we'll get into the types of characters you can play. But I cannot see what you guys have to say. Mm-mm-mm. Hey, alley oops. Hey, 77. Good to see you. Yeah. These guys are talking about their own pain. I don't know why they're here doing that. I would prefer them to be taking care of themselves, but I appreciate the willingness to talk about it. The Yanking says roll high, not over. So it's like blackjack. Yes. So okay. Um, I thought about going roll either all roll low or all roll high, but psychologically, rolling high is a positive thing. We naturally think the higher the number, the greater we are. I wanted to be like blackjack because in blackjack and gambling, there's this, okay, I'm almost there, and then boom, you go over and you go, oh no, and you have the sound effect, doom, 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 kind of thing. So I wanted to have that effect a little bit. The only thing about the roll high, not over, is that it is a singularity system. So one is always a success and 12 is always a failure. Double ones are a galactic success and double 12s are a galactic failure. So you want to roll high, not over, but if you roll a one, then it's awesome. And doubles double, things like that. You guys. Interesting. I guess you could do the same with that system. I had the idea of guessing the number I am thinking. There is a travel RPG, TRPG. I don't have it off the top of my head. They use a they have a gaming system that is diceless where it's like guess the number. It's kind of cool. Yeah, 70 Year Thrones in the house. Yeah. Thanks, Drew. Drew's like DBJ wants blackjack and hookers in space. Uh in a weird way, that's actually there's a truism in that. Not that I desire that, but I suppose there should be space for it if you yeah. Okay, so let's go here. Let me shrink the size down just a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. This is AI art. I need people to understand that. This is AI art. I am hoping to remove all the AI art, but it's very difficult to do science fiction of any type without any visuals. especially when I'm talking about other things. So these are the Cro-Mags. They're slave natured and freedom nurtured. Uh, they were basically created as a slave race. Um, it is, and we talked about it a little bit more. That there's this there's this section that's a problematic area. This because this is speculative fiction. I'd like to I'd like to come head first into technology can make us have a utopian society, but what do humans do with things? We like to use and abuse things, and a lot of times that use and abuse comes with people, and so there's a lot of problematic reasons. For example, like I put here, Cro-Mags are born, bred, and designed as an enslaved species. They are treated unfairly. They are an underclass. They are victims of prejudice, lies, violence, and authoritarian oppression. Uh, anyway, you get the point. And each of these choices, there is this problematic, like, whoa, maybe we don't want to have this in our game. But I want to reinforce that this science fiction setting won't be scrubbed of its problematic elements. I specifically want to have those elements um, hit head on, and then along with this problematic area, there's a like why play, and I want to introduce like why would you want to play this kind of character. So it's like to confront and destroy oppression and prejudice, to fight against one's genetic destiny, to embrace community, to behave instinctually, to be driven by base emotion and needs, to hide under the cloak of servitude, to show the honor and beauty of serving others, to live and die by one's own hand, to punish abusers, to erase prejudice, to burn down entrenched slavery and enforced labor societies. And so this is the reason why you want to play those. And it's good for the game master to spiral to like, oh, well, this is why they want to play them. Uh, thanks to Drew, the name of these individuals, they're no longer called the Dro, D-R-O. They're called Urani, and it's based on a Greek goddess. It's based on a publication, and it is and those two combined together um bring about this kind of thing. Again, social experiment. For Let me move back up to the Cro-Mags. Sorry. Cro-Mag, social experiment. If we could genetically create a race of people who are biologically destined to serve others, would we? Should we? Is the question. And then what happens when those people realize that they do have the ability to be free, but ge- in their genetics they want to serve others? And is it wrong to use them? What happens when they're free and they still choose to serve others? Are you working against their desire and things like that? So it's all that kind of stuff. Again, the Urani are have the ability. They are literally gender fluid. They have the ability to shift and change their outward and inward appearance and genitalia in subtle ways, to the point where, including being asexual and having any combination of elements, and live that way. Some choose to be permanently one way? Yes. Do some go through seasons? Yes. And then again, we have our problematic area. And then, oops, I didn't change the name. I thought I did. There we go. And all that kind of stuff. So we have a bunch of these here. So I want to go through some of them. We have the either Agi or Agi, artificial intelligence. These are true human level artificial intelligent individuals. If you play one, you will play one of 64 that are going out into the world to experience the world, to bring that information back to create a mega AI. And so there is some fear involved in this and things like that. The artificial general intelligence, mysterious sentient society. Boop, boop, boop. They are basically a collection of Star Trek datas. And there's, of course, here's the problematic thing and why do you want to play them. I'll go over any of these that you would like, but I want to go through these very quickly. The Metallum, they are like silicone, copper-based people, maybe some other rare elements. Mineral life, alien strife. Uh, yeah, Metallum are not carbon based. They cannot breed with humans. They are a true alien species in parity to humanity. I didn't fill out the other terrible things. Some of this is copy and paste, so you can see how I've done that. Yeah, yeah. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. So a lot of his copy and paste, still filling stuff out. There's people known as the Kresh, again, a social experiment of a cloned society. Collectivism taken to the extreme, where people are born and bred and raised. You can see this is AI art. There's like a weird scrunchy face here and back in there. His face is kind of blurred out here and stuff. They all got attitudes. I don't know why I came up with attitudes. But yeah, a clone society, cooperative social experiment, um, freaking other people out. So you can play one of them. If your character, sorry, side note, if your character dies, you can actually pick up another clone that's in the region, and that just becomes your new character. Um, Very much like that. Okay. The Novus are human 2.0, redesigned human beings to live in the voids of space. Um, they have, for example, their eyes and skin are adapted to the deep space and radiation. Their forearms are split in half, so where your between your middle finger and ring finger, it's split down the bone, so it splits in half. So they have kind of this like four-finger thing. Same thing with their calves. Um, they a bunch of other stuff, redundant organs, being able to hibernate in space, things like that. These are ferals. The ferals are spliced with animals. If you ask the question, are they humans with animal DNA or animals with human DNA? The answer is yes. They ferals basically run the gamut of all the animal DNA that humanity may or may not want to blend with them. Again, it is illegal to have them in this current part of the world, but they were used as shock troops and things like that. Um, yeah, anthropomorphic animals and agents. They are frontline, put on the front lines, but cast aside. Uh, Thank you for your service. We don't need you anymore. Um, the docent are basically plastic humans, plastic humanoids. Think C3PO. Again, this is an artificial race or machines, basically, um, that serve people in more of a polite social context. And they're free, but they take pride in serving people. They are the opposite of rebels, as there has been up until this point no violence between them and humanity. Um, so yeah, artificial. This is going to the docent part is going to be changed. I mean that part of it is going to be changed. Uh, I hate this name. Um, these are craniacs. They're basically like I don't know. They're like mental lords. They're the equivalent of the uh, psionic people in the world, to the point where even they forget about their biology and are focused on their minds. So their physical bodies are weak, their minds are powerful. Enhanced mind, psychic power, living nightmares, et cetera, et cetera. Um, the Zenith, basically perfect people, physically, mentally. They look good, strong, powerful, paragons of humans. Maybe the S. And although they do represent an imperfect perfection, because what does the word perfect mean in a world where you can be anything you want, right? Of course, we have ourselves Martians. Um, Faces scarred by the winds, lungs and skin adapted to the cold and the thin carbon dioxide environment. There's a little bit of pride from the scarring that happens on this world. So people have like their faces and their bodies like tattooed around their scar. A little bit of a pride and a scarification. Yeah, humanity terraformed, breathing dust, crimson flesh. Another option, Lunarians. These are the first peoples that lived on the moons. Very tall, very thin. Yeah, first families of Luna, towering, smiling trophies. They are kind of considered um, the first families, basically, and there's pride in being married into having a Lunarian in your family, or being one, or having one on your side who's like a head or a head and a half taller than you. Shortest ones are like 6.5 feet tall, maybe, and further. But they're also kind of looked at as like trophies, trophy people, like trophy wives and husbands, and that kind of thing. Um, uh, Shit. The Adren, like short for adrenal. These individuals have mastered their adrenal systems to be very powerful, getting your heart pumping, getting that dopamine dumped in your body, getting a lot of adrenaline dumped in, or wiping it away, controlling sleep cycles, healing, meditation, uh, that kind of thing. But they're so insular, it's like they're kind of detached from the real and now. And I did, and that wordplay is on purpose, not from the here and now, but from the real and now, so they can kind of like fall a little bit too much into their body. The verdant, uh, humanity mixed with plant-like things, being able to produce oxygen, um, hibernating themselves, very long lives, taking a long time to think about things. The Neuroforge are, of course, this is all going to be changed. Neuroforge are individuals that can um, mix and match their memories and personalities and skills for what they need. It's kind of an artificial, they get an artificial leg up in society, but they're willing to buy, sell, and trade different kinds of mindsets and skill sets, and just activate one, change another one, change your personalities, memories. Um, uh, gene- Genomancers are genetically deficient individuals. Uh, their bodies are starting to like fall apart. They can grow different organs. They can allow their body parts to fall off and grow new ones, things like that. And they've become their own society because they've been cast out because they are diseased. Let's keep going. Autons are basically autonomous machines. You get to choose how sentient your character is. So you may just be a very you may just be nothing more than a chat GPT, where you're basically a machine that can just be turned on and off, but of course you're immune to like psychic intrusions and things like that. You're not really sentient, all the way up to basically being a awakened AI. So anything in between, different body types and stuff like that. Not sure what I'm going to call these individuals. They use nanotechnology and are able to they're surrounded, or they can surround themselves with like these nanotechnology to create different objects and things like that. But there's a little bit of fear involved with them, and so everybody's got their own things. I hate this name, but it's a placeholder name. Basically, the equivalent of a paladin in space. People have taken an oath to protect people. Power armor, that kind of stuff. Da, da, da. Shoot, I am so sorry. Sneaking up on me. Zeros are people who are infected with a zero virus. That virus is not physical. It actually deletes their digital information, and it's contagious. So people don't like zeros, and because zeros don't have a digital footprint, they're often forgotten in this future society. Now, if you want to make a character that's, of course, this sounds really cool. If you're like, I want to be a spy, I want to be like a ninja, and everywhere I go, my digital information is deleted. Well, that sounds good until you need to get something to eat and live somewhere. So anyway, so I want to share that out to you. Let's share this tab instead, and then get into what you guys have to say, because I cannot see the chat. The End King says, Verdant is cool, makes me imagine Swamp Thing in space. Very much so. Very, very much so. Drew says, is it possible to be of mixed ethnicity? Yes. As a matter of fact, I wanted to bring up the question of the problematic question of assimilation and okay, so one I'm going to bring up a very real thing that I feel is pretty ridiculous, but whatever. I'm going to bring up a very real world thing. So, um, every once in a while, we will have these seasons of love hate relationships when one person of a particular um, ethnic background takes on the physical and cultural characteristics of another ethnic background, i.e., I bring up the idea of white people, Caucasian people getting their hair dreaded and braided, and the argument of should they wear Africanized garbs, and should white people be able to have their hair braided, and is it wrong, and all that kind of stuff, right? Which I think is pretty fucking ridiculous because you are what you're raised in, and yes, are there people who do it to like gain some kind of like clout or whatever with the other people? Sure, but you can't gatekeep culture. That culture is literally like our base form of viral or mimetic information, so you can't do that. But yes, could you be of mixed ethnicity on purpose? Yes, as a matter of fact, there are people who choose to do that. It is a some think of it as a rite of passage. Others look at it like a way to blend people together as a unity. And then there's other people who are just assholes, and they're just like, you know what? Next month, I think I'll be this other thing. So yeah, Island of Dr. Moreau in space. Caligula's like, Urani offends me. Sounds like piss. It not urethra. The Yankee says, have a guy named Craniac. Lord Craniac, make him an infamous Skeletor type. Sorry, I just figured it. Yeah, Shai says docent is German for teacher at university where they act like robots. Hilarious. Yes, the word docent it is like a teacher or a guide, and the docent are guides in this world. Some of them are, I would dare say, shit, lords, dudes, it's true. We may keep that. We may keep that as like a little slang term. Like, yo, Dro, what's up? Yo, I'm with that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I do like that. There is a. I do want to include the idea that there are. Again, could this be a utopia of freedom? Sure, but like the Kresh, who are all clones of each other, you know, are they older, younger, male, female, somewhere in between? Yes, but they are all clones of each other, and they have consciously made the choice that they are all collectively together. It would bother me a little bit, rub me wrong a little bit if a player's like, I want to be part of the clone family of the Kresh, but I want to be different. It's like that's not the point. The point is that they want to be that way. Yeah, that kind of thing. TA says this reminds me a bit of the episode of Enterprise with the aliens that had three sexes and one was kept uneducated, that was limited and needed for the other two sexes to procreate. That is absolutely true. Yes, speculative fiction. What happens? What's wrong? What happens if? And I like that question of what happens if, and you fill in that blank. Shitlord says problematic is code for fun. Well, in my world, it is. Yes, yes, it is. Taste of It says, without gambling and hookers, we would have no economy. People. It's funny how the public can hate that kind of stuff, and it is an engine for discovery and advancement, very much so. Yeah, blackjack and hookers, the only two vices I don't have, but they must be the best vice for Space Marines. Yes, absolutely. Sorry, went backwards a little bit. Shai says, why isn't the future space worlds automatically a utopia? Well, the question would be, why isn't Earth a utopia? You know that. Shai says culture is just a concept too. A concept most Europeans would say we don't have. You so funny. Yes, that is true. Yeah, ethnicity is just a concept unless you've got sickle cell anemia or cystic fibrosis. I actually shitlord says quadroons. I know about that as well. Quadroons, yeah, mulattoes. Um, those are and there's a bunch of 1/8, 1/16, 1/32nd, 1/64th. Very much in the South, Louisiana, Alabama, New Orleans area, and things like that, with people just all kinds of stuff. My family's filled with people that are like part of one thing and part of another thing, and all mixed together and stuff like that. As a side note about the sickle cell anemia, cystic fibrosis, and things like that, diseases that tend to fall along a specific ethnicity. I have something very common called G6PD enzyme deficiency, which historically protected me from malaria. So people who have that enzyme deficiency are hyper resistant to malaria, but I cannot take anti-malarial vaccination, and sometimes that's required to go to places that have malaria as a thing. So I can't visit those places, even though I'm resistant to malaria. And that was a trait given to me from my ancestors. It also means there's certain foods I can't digest. But yeah. Mm-mm-mm. I'm going to go back to this. Why isn't space utopia in just a minute? Says I. TA says I seriously need to make a list and details of every alien species I have ever had ideas for that I used in my own game. First, do that, and then describe all of them. Yeah. TA says utopia is impossible because it always becomes a dystopia. Just look up the rat utopia experiments. Yes, that is a very much like a foundational reason why I wanted to make this setting. Because if you've ever looked up the rat utopia experiments, it's pretty horrible. In short, the rat utopia experiments was an individual that decided to give rats everything they needed. So it was a complete utopia, rat utopia. All the food, the rest, their ability to breed, and they basically died off. It was pretty horrible. It says, "Oh yeah, Creole. That's a real word, right? Never heard it in real life though." Yep, Creoles. Yep, all that kind of stuff. It was those words came mulatto, quadroon, Creole. Those words came about because as during the era of emancipation, basically white folks wanted to know how much black was in them, and you were only allowed certain rights and privileges based on how one drop meant that you were black and you weren't pure and all that kind, and that's where those words came from. Shai says, "Holy shit, G3 enzyme deficiency protects you from malaria." Fascinating. Going to have to read up on that. Let me see if I can find it. Here was G6PD deficiency. G6PD deficiency is an inherited condition. It is when the body doesn't have enough of an enzyme called G6PD, or glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenases. This enzyme helps red blood cells work properly. A lack of this enzyme can cause hemolytic anemia. This is when the red blood cells break down faster than they are made. And it's very common, actually. It's very common. Yep, it's a genetic disorder that most often affects males. It happens when the body doesn't have enough of an enzyme. And I only found out about that when I gave blood. I had before I worked for the Postal Service, I worked for the Treasury Department, and they were, they'd have a blood drive, and you'd get the day off, get paid for the full day for the blood drive. So everyone would sign up as early as possible to be able to go home. And I signed up, and they were like, "You need to talk to your doctor." And I was like, "Why? Am I sick or something?" And they said, "No, we just found something in your blood. We can't tell you what it is. Please go to your doctor." Went to the doctor and found out I can't give blood. I can give blood to myself. I can't give blood to other people. TA says the rats basically go insane, and it seems due to lack of things that give them a purpose. Though all rats are field dependent personality types due to their biology, where humans have a variance. Yes, it was because the rats didn't have a purpose. And some people feel like, I don't know how wrong they would be. Some people feel that a utopia would remove human purpose, and human purpose is more important than anything to keep our psychology safe. And I would agree with that. So yeah. So a utopia can be tempered by us if we realize it, but this requires those who have their brain developed by being a field independent personality type. It also brings up the idea, TA, that would we or should we, and this is going to be incorporated in the game, should we artificially make things scarce or difficult on purpose so that we have a purpose to have it? So, for example, just because we have enough food to feed each other, would we purposely decide not to do such a thing? Would now we have human beings that do this on purpose: mountain climbers, bicycle riders, people that exercise, people that are preppers, and people who are who train to live in the outdoors. The Iditarod. We have things that where people make a purpose to make their life difficult for themselves, to push their boundaries, but most human beings don't do that, like myself. Human purpose to victimize the less fortunate. Yeah, yeah. See, thank you, shit lords. You got me. I'm so sorry. I have whatever it is creating a lot of phlegm and mucus in my lungs, and I've been taking a lot of medication. Okay, let's go to random tables. Random tables, a bunch of random tables. I'm putting into a file. I'm going to end up splitting these up. So we have data cores. Data cores are the MacGuffin of this world. Data cores. Well, let me read this out. Data cores are remnants of the signal, capital, a digital communications burst from beyond the Oort cloud that overloaded every information storage device in the system. The system, capitalized, or the sys, is the term we're giving for our solar system. People just call it the sys. Of course, I can't steal the expanse and other terms used for a system, so it's just called, for our solar system, it's just called the system. Sometimes it's called the cyst. It, CYST, and also SYS, the cyst. It's also known as the Copernican system or Helios system, but that's more scientific and professional. Anyway, most data cores were trashed, recycled, or overwritten. Those that remained are in high demand, sought by salvagers for wealth, power, and glory. Data cores are solid-state hard drives of our future. They appear as you wish them to appear, using the list below as flavor. And then there's a little breakout box here. I might change the color of this. Let's change the color to something like a deep red or something. Data cores break physics, reality, and the game. Maybe blue, because red sounds like it should be changed. There we go. They are the objects that operate on theoretical physics and experimental technologies. Data cores are single-use devices that are problematic to keep and dangerous in the hands of others. Every data core is a curse. No one, no location, no faction, no enterprise should be left unscathed if in possession of, use of, or influenced by, or seeking to exploit a data core. So data cores are the things everybody wants and nobody should have. And yes, they are one-use systems that could lead other people. This is the closest classic fantasy Dungeons and Dragons part of this game. And it when in doubt, have the players go after a data core. Maybe that data core is in the hands of an NPC, in the hands of an adversary. There are other factors going after data cores or trying to uncover them. Again, after the signal happened, it basically bricked every information device. So people just overwrit them, pulled them out, destroyed them, recycled them to get new things online, to get starships back online, to get habitats on, things like that. So people didn't understand their value until scientists started to look at what the data cores were, and individually they represent something that basically breaks reality. They are the Xeno information thing. So why D12? Well, visually and mentally, for me, a 12-point chart like the one here where it says the condition, or the condition that the data core is found in, um, is very, for me, is the highest number with a die roll that is popular, that one could look at, find what they want, decide what they want, and keep moving. So if this was a D20, I feel like 20 is a little bit too big, and it's not a D20 system. And also, going less than D12 is less options, and then I'd have to play with like, if it's less options, then I have to play with like 3D6 or 2D10 and do this like arc. And I think 1D12 as a baseline, and I do play with the 1D12s, like rolling 2D12 and further, but it's a random table is just basically a numbered bullet point. So you don't have to roll. You can go, oh, this is what it is. But it's just a prompt. So some of these might be hermetically sealed, or dust covered, or xeno spew encrusted, or oxidized, or covered in blood, weathered, corroded, dismantled, packed in a brick, things like that, encased in translucent polymer, whatever. So that may be how it's found, and how you find it might even be a clue for other things. And then some of the abilities. Again, this is a multi-stage table. Roll for each category. No two data cores are alike. And then here is our breakout box. I'm not sure how I'm going to, for layout purposes, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work. But anyway, once a data core is used, it burns out unusable. Its drawbacks continue. A stellar navigation tag can be used to trace the location of other data cores in the system. The data core's power is immeasurable, with the power to nearly alter reality, bend time, move through space, etc. Be generous, but always let the stars know that this will cost them dearly. So that's just another reminder, like, be careful. So we roll on a dot on the table. You know what? Let me move this. There we go. So if you guys would like to come up with some random numbers, 5 random numbers from 1 to 12, just pick them out of your head. You don't even have to roll. I will tell you what your data core is like while I keep going on. Bitcoin. TA says, what is to stop us from making something digital that is scarce to keep the purpose train going by making a simulated purpose? There's nothing stopping us from doing that. Well, okay, let's be more specific. First, TA, I like where your mind is going, because there's nothing stopping us from making things digitally scarce. We actually do this already, right? We do this with money. But collectively, we have to agree that scarcity is a norm, because once people look through the scarcity factor, it can be there's a mental dissonance between the purpose of the scarcity and the scarcity itself, right? Shai says, does that mean all humans are automatically politicians? In a way, yes. So TA, what you're saying is absolutely positively a factor in this world, because there's so many habitats out there. They can be a little bit insular. So you can go to one habitat, maybe a dome city on the moon, go to another habitat, which is a crevice city on Mars, and then another habitat that's in a Lagrange point around Jupiter, and another habitat that's in the asteroid belt in the Ceres family of asteroids, or something like that. And all of them may be completely different. As a matter of fact, I would hope that they are all different. So yes, there's what is stopping us? Us. Excuse me. God damn it. Anyway, okay. So Here we go. I don't even. Can you guys even see this? It's pretty small type. But anyway, so for example, we have our activation uh, level, our bleeding edge science, our reach, the major drawback, and a minor quirk that it has. So for example, if we go across the top, and mind you, this isn't in alphabetical order. I'll probably restructure in alphabetical order. But under activation, we've got like manipulate, innervate, translocate, deflect, absorb, create, duplicate, in stasis, visualize, distort, embody, that kind of thing. So for example, if we go straight across the top, our data core manipulates, so that's the activation, it manipulates scion waves in a cone, and its major drawback is it sends a scrambled signal to enemies, and it has the data core itself has a magnetic pull, so maybe it magnetically attracts to walls or magnetically adheres to like the hull of a ship or something like that. If we move down just a little bit, let's go across number 6. So the data core creates nth dimensional space, whatever the hell that means, inside of a singularity point. Unfortunately, it overwrites important data. So if you have a starship or a vehicle, or you leave it inside of a habitat, it slowly will be overwrite important data, and the device has an 1,000 or 1K lumen glow to it, so it glows very brightly. So you'd have to cover it up. Probably when you start to activate it, or get ready to activate it, just starts glowing. Where's here? Number 9. If you go across number 9, it can this device, this data core can visualize quantum fluctuations in the space of an octahedron. Unfortunately, it has a reactivation code for data cores. So it sends a reactivation code for data cores that have already been used, which sounds good in your hands, unless it reactivates a data core for somebody else, which is horrible. And it has anti-gravity exclamation point, because anti-gravity doesn't exist in this setting. So maybe it floats, or it makes, when attached to something else, it makes it float or something, on purpose or not. So anyway, that's a random table. Piracy is a huge thing in this world. Actually, before I go into that, let me see what you guys have to say. TA says, in a system where we are colonizing space, the scarce item is the humans themselves, as they are spread out and try and fill the void and terraforming things. That's very true. That's very true. I like that idea. I like that thing. Also, running into alien species creates a conflict possible solution where purpose becomes a thing, even when you have all you need. Isaac Arthur's Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur, SFIA, his YouTube channel. Excellent individual. Anyway, he runs, Scheisse says, no anti-gravity? Good. Yeah, no anti-gravity at all. Spin gravity and gravity due to acceleration exists. So acceleration meaning like falling into a gravity well, acceleration by starships, things like that. Yep. No artificial gravity. Well, no, technically there is artificial gravity. There's no anti-gravity. So there's no button you can push to create gravity, or there's no button you can push to make zero gravity, but we still have physics. So we have artificial gravity due to physics, spinning habitats, acceleration, that kind of thing. Gravity wells. So that still exists. Yes, when you're Thomas T.A. Powder fell. Yeah, Jinx. Yeah, Powder fell into a gravity well. A gravity well of her own mind. What a great series that was. Oh my God. I hope they can live up to a part 2. If not, I hope they just don't even make a part 2. So Isaac Arthur is very positive about purpose in life, say in the future, stating that if we were to create a utopia, that doesn't mean that we will be lazy. It just means we have the possibility to give ourselves a purpose that goes far above and beyond simple survival. And I tend to agree with that. Yeah. Shai says artificial gravity is lame too because it's fun to watch your body fall apart from muscle atrophy. There is that as well. There is muscle atrophy in this game. There is. Since the aliens would possibly be trying to take from us or to keep up relations, we would have to keep creating interesting things like art and music to trade with the aliens so they continue to see to see it as being beneficial to communicate and work with us as opposed to abandoning or destroying us. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And much more art and things like that. So, all right, let's go with this random table. Piracy. Starship battles, bad. Piracy, good. Why starship battles bad? Because every time one person destroys another object in space, you're effectively creating um, you're effectively adding to the Kessler syndrome of destruction. You're creating debris in space that can punch through other starships and other habitats, and you're creating um, relativistic missiles. And so I could hear my cat. So instead, piracy, not just piracy, but let me see if I can make this even bigger. There we go. Not just piracy, but also recycling and things like that is very important in space. The minute you take up anything physically in space, you have to take that with you, which means you have to use it, reuse it, repurpose it, and things like that. So there is a 2D12 table I have here of different types of people who would be in space. Um, um, who are individuals who aren't just people who are aliens or people with missiles. Because remember, every starship in space is a relativistic missile itself. All you have to do is dump human caltrops out of your airlock, and you already have relativistic missiles. So yeah, yeah. Vagabonds and number 24, ghost ships. Zeros uh, floating through the void. All right. Okay. So, what kinds of are there? Is everyone a pirate in this piracy-filled world? No. Some people have different purposes. Uh, this is a bell curve with both ends of the bell curve being the most rare individuals in space. Everything in the middle is most common. So starting with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or et cetera. So we have broadsiders who are like violent scavengers and salvagers. Broadsiders basically punch holes in other people's ships, blow things off of other people's ships, and scavenge the destroyed materials and keep going. Do they kill people? Sometimes, but essentially what they do is they try to disable and destroy other people's spacecraft, grab what they can, and get the hell out of there. Blackbirders are bio, auton, and zip traffickers. Bio meaning living people, autons meaning robots and automatons, and zips are zip drives, and they are traffickers. Blackbirders are basically individuals who buy and sell and trade. They are the future version of human traffickers. You can look up where the origin of blackbirders comes from. Buccaneers are xenophobic, paranoid refugees and escapees. Buccaneers in this world are basically people who have escaped the horrors of this setting, and their asses are just running. Please leave us alone. They are running, hiding, trying to find some place to lead their lives, floating out in space. Buccaneers also kind of like have their own little sociological gravity of the cast-offs and outsiders. Corsairs are like space knights and religious nomads. Corsairs hold tightly to an oath or religious dogma, which may be good or bad depending on who you are and what you need from them, and why they are approaching you for some reason. Maybe they think they're excising some kind of behavior or faction or cult. Maybe they are trying to make converts or whatever. that kind of thing. Interceptors are space bounty hunters. Basically, they are experts at intercepting other space travelers, and they are often hired to find other space travelers. And so that's what many times interceptors do. And bounty hunters going after criminals, um, going after people who are perceived criminals from specific regions. So you don't necessarily need to be a real criminal. You could be a political criminal or something like that. Uh, Heliosailors are bioscience, medicine, jacket traders, hospice caretakers. They are I would say, like the doctors and caretakers in space. Um, uh, Everyone likes them because even the bad guys, because they are the people who like cure diseases and things like that. They've they're like the equivalent of Doctors Without Borders in many ways, and they consider themselves to be neutral, although they do get in a lot of trouble because um, criminals and things like that will try to force them to work for their side and that kind of stuff. Swashbucklers are entertainers. I guess you could call them traders. They're decadent, they're carousers, things like that. Basically going around partying. They are blow off valve individuals. So there are some habitats that are very serious and stoic and insular that love to have swashbucklers come back just so that people can engage in some of their blow off steam, and engage in a bunch of their vices. The Cis Guard are space, like Coast Guard, roadside assistance, basically. They are summarily paid for little bits here and there by an agreed upon tax. So some places are protected by the Cis Guard more than others. They haul ships that are disabled, things like that. There is no universal system-wide Cis Guard. They are an organization that takes monies and favors from other places so that they operate. So many people like them around, but if you're a criminal, maybe you don't want them hanging around too much, unless, of course, you're getting into trouble and your ships are all getting disabled, in which case you would love to have them around. Vat Kanakis, and you can look up what a Kanakis is. Is an islander, Pacific Islander word. They are pure zero-G inhabitants and nomads. They live in zero-G. They love to have their ships in zero gravity. They don't want to live on any solid surface. They consider themselves to be residents of space, and so that's where they hang around. Scuttlebutts are info brokers. They buy, sell, trade, steal information from one place, take it to another. They take secured information from one place to another so that it is not on the open web known as the flow. Smugglers, you know what they are. Transport of illegal goods and transport questionable items and people. So they take things from one place to another under cloak and camouflage. Six shooters are space haulers. Six shooters are a basic form of transportation for player characters. A six shooter is a starship that has these like six spaces around it, like pods used for hauling goods and services, but basically hauling other smaller starships, everyone paying 1/6 of the cost it would take for them to get from one place to another. And the next six shooter takes them and goes, and it kind of like it can spin for spin gravity. Essentially, this is an excuse for players to engage socially with other people while traveling through space. So six shooters, yes, they look. If you look at them head on, they do look like the chamber of a six shooter pistol, kind of. But basically, from the side, it's a spaceship that looks like a giant rod with a big engine on the bottom of it and a fuel pods, and then six other large objects are attached to the side of it. 10 stars is basically the slang term for um, local mercs, and that's not supposed to be a comma, and volunteer law enforcement. Pirates are what we think of pirates. Pirates are thieves, scoundrels, robber barons, and of goods and services. They basically steal stuff, board other people's ships, like a pirate. Privateers are basically pirates, but they're hired criminals and gangs, usually hired by local governments or factions. Salvagers is that are both poor and rich purveyors of wrecks and debris. Some salvagers are very rich. Others are very poor, and they basically salvage other starships and things like that that break down and make a lot of money from it. Ice wranglers, basically comet farmers. Threat traders exchange merchandise under threat. Threat traders are the nicest, most violent people in the system. So threat traders basically come up to you, they pull their guns and they say, "Listen, we've got food and ice for water. We want from you your 3 data cores you have on your ship." And so under threat, they will give you something in exchange for something else, but they kind of threaten you to do it. Trajectors, it is spelled correctly, or it's a science term. Trajectors are scientists, engineers, theorists, and ice-fire forgery factories. So trajectors are basically scientists and engineers and theorists that live out in space. They're interested in information and discoveries, but they're also very good at mimicking the ice, fire, flame engines from other people that have starships. So every engine, every flame trail has a signature, and trajectors are very good at mimicking the signature of other ships. They're the go-to people to do that. They make a lot of money off of that, which they get to be left alone to do their science experiments. Bombardiers are basically the word for warships. They basically any warship in space is basically a bombardier. All they have to do is just launch kinetic kill items, lots of them, a whole bunch of tungsten rods and things like that, along with smart missiles and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, warships. Murder merchants are basically violent traders, killers, and murderers in space. They are the most violent piracy types, which makes them the most rare. You see, you'd have to roll a 22 on 2d12, and they basically will blast your ship into smithereens, steal what they want, take who they want, and keep moving. They do leave behind a lot of debris. People hate murder merchants. Even other criminals hate murder merchants. Tramp freighters are basically vagabonds. A tramp freighter is like an unassigned ship engaged in commerce that is non-specific. So they take on a bunch of like homeless people and ex-criminals and expats and just random individuals going from place to place trading and things. Basically, they're a moving flea market. And then there's ghost ships. Ghost ships are filled with zeros. Zeros, again, are the people who have no digital uh, um, signature. So ghost ships don't have digital signatures either. You just fall upon them. Anyway, whew, that was a lot of stuff. We're almost done. Shitlords talks about atrophy, not if you go to Space Gym, which will be necessary for player characters. Same thing with having radiation scrubbed from your body and mutations and things like that. TA says, I can see a replicator level society where we have pirates, not because we need to plunder anyone, but because it's now an art form. That's true. Well, plundering the replicator, stealing the replicator technology in and of itself is piracy as well. Shitlord says space piracy equals space government. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of it. Yeah, you're not wrong about that. It says, oh yeah, are there different governments that control different regions of space? Are there even nations in the 25th century? In this setting, every nation on Earth is called a paper nation. It's a derogatory term. Paper nations is a derogatory term because no one uses paper anymore. Paper can be forged. Paper can be burned. There are nations, but there are only nations on paper. If you understand what I'm saying. So, and yes, I don't care where you live. Yes, your nation is a paper nation. I'm looking at you, us in the States or whatever. Yeah, all the nations on Earth, there's no like dominant Chinese or Indian or Australian or Madagascarian. There's nothing like that. They're all considered paper nations. TA says, so we could have ship battles that may be a bit dangerous, but it's more like football games than war between countries or police and bank robbers. Yes, it is more about outmaneuvering and out strategizing the other person. So it's about resource depletion. Outmaneuvering may be forcing people to go into a region of space they don't want to go. It could be them burning fuel they don't want to burn. It could be a lot of ship disruptions. So you may fire at a ship to disrupt its engines, trajectory, fuel, um, navigation systems, sensory systems. It's a life support systems. It's about doing that, and sometimes it's not even about destroying the other person. It's about taking what you want and getting the hell out of there, or getting away from the people who only want to steal your fuel, things like that. So it's not about destroying the other side because if I'm a pirate, your ship is the most valuable thing I can steal from you, as well as other things, right? Maybe you have a lot of ice or water on your ship. I want that. Maybe you have clean, air filters, and I need those clean air filters. You have highly efficient ice fire engines. I want to steal those engines or get those, all that kind of stuff. So it's about stealing resources. Destroying somebody else's ship is the worst thing you can do. That's a billion. It would be the equivalent of destroying billions of dollars of machinery. And we do that here on Earth because we have the ability to relatively easily rebuild $1 billion vessel, like an aircraft carrier or something. But in space, it's not very easy to do that. Um, want to see the reaction of an alien group that sees two ships battling, one being destroyed and the people being collected up, only to have the ship captain of the surviving ship shaking hands with the captain of the destroyed ship and saying, "Good game, better luck next season." That'd be awesome. I could see something like that happening. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Say collecting the people up and going, "Listen, you know what we want? We want your ship. We'll drop you off the nearest hab," and everyone's like, "Okay, we know you're not going to kill us. We're not going to kill you. We know how this game is played. Damn it, we lost our ship. We'll get you next time." Yes, there's very much like that. Shai says, "Awesome. That word will get you banned in Germany." Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. Kanakas, I mean, even though it's just a word for sailors. Yes. Yeah, it is. It is. It is a word that is used by the people to take back their freedom or their identity, which is why I put it in the game. Yep. Shitlord says, "There it is, your ticket to fame." Kanakas. Yes, it is it is. I specifically put it in here. I don't know how. I'm sure it's pretty offensive to other people, but it's kind of like saying yeah, F you, you guys. This is who we are. You think we used to be this way, but we're free and we're on our own and we live by our own code and stuff like that. I might change it. It depends on how, just how offensive it is, but that's how if someone wants to know why I'm doing it, that's the reason why I did it. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. TA says, I can see this in stages or ages. One is the pre-replicator tech, another is the pre-entropy conquering age, and another after that could be a pure multi-universe converged solutions civilization. K1, K2, K3. Yep. Come on. So each one is leveraged against the lack of the tech and what scarcities or obstacles coming doom that the tech afterwards solves. Yeah, one begets the other. Thus, they play a part in civilization, potentially even succeeding in developing that tech to start the next age. I like that. I like that idea. Drew says, 23 will be Disney movie Lady and the Tramp Freighter. Yeah, I love that movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but as a kid, I just remember it was very fun. Shy Squad says, this is going to be so much fun. A lot of problematic bullshit in here, but on purpose. I don't want to hide this at all. I want these elements in there. And I want the idea of, I want to encompass the what if, the speculative fiction of it. Like, what if? What if? Yeah, piracy is already an art. Piracy, yeah, the computer nerds. Yeah, piracy is already an art. Yeah, replicator tech could be used as a weapon in a war. Yeah, yep, yep, yep. The idea is that it's shipping its cargo, weapons, etc., all made by replicators. So the next game is nothing more than getting dropped off. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Battles in bowls, sort of like football games. Ooh. Oh, there's an old B movie called oh shit, about battle bots. Oh, Robo Jocks. It's called Robo Jocks. Yeah, it's like uh lethal bowl games with giant robots, and the giant robots look so cheesy, but it's a good movie. It takes itself seriously too, but it's horrible. With the pirates and ships being more like teams, that actually makes a lot of sense too. Shai says, I almost got kicked out of a bar just for discussing the etymology of Kanakis on a purely logistic level. Really? Really? And Shitlord says, no, do not remove Kanakis as your ticket to stardom. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The purpose I'm putting it in is one of a middle finger fu, right? It's a you considered us this, but we consider ourselves better than you, and that's what we identify. Like we're taking that word and taking it back. It's the in many ways, it's kind of like it's the n word of space society, right? Like there's a kind of a pride involved in it in a weird way, and the people are not they are not lesser than in any way. They live in space. They're like space is us. Random hit location table, uh, random common houseplants found in space habitats. Uh, a bunch of these. Aloe vera. These plants produce a lot of oxygen. That's why. Weeping figs, pothos plant, orchids, ficus, all that kind of stuff. Edible insects in space. Both the preparation and the type. These are gonna be moved around. Smoked, ground, salted, live insects, sauteed, stewed, steamed, honeyed, boiled. Let's see what type of insect type things or critters or whatever. We got crickets, caterpillars, water bugs, centipedes, maggots, bees, termites. Heck, the maggots might come from the decomposing bodies of your crew, and that honestly is a good thing. People would people would take it as a point of honor that your body is being used to in their hydroponic, locations and things like that. Yeah, being recycled, your body being recycled and stuff like that. Yep. Um random table for some habitats. This is basically a D6 table, but I think I have the ability to expand them, maybe with some details. So like the moon, Geo, Moon, Mars, Earth, asteroids, um, all kinds of things. Physical bodies. We've got domes, crags, lava tubes, towers, cave complexes, and mobile units. In pure vacuum, we've got things like the Bernal sphere, O'Neill cylinders, spindles, hives, geodesics, tin cans. Geodesics are kind of unique. Geodesic is basically a giant orb held together by metal spars, and then in the middle of the orb are metal spars and things keeping it an orb, and then space habitats inside attached to the spars on the inside. So you can travel around the spars, and it's like power and energy and things like that. And then everyone lives inside the dome, um, inside of their own hab. Gas giants, things floating in and around gas giants in the atmospheres. Aerostats, chandelier, habitats, dirigibles, aerodesics, basically big giant orbs, spindles and hives. Uh, Hives are like uh, Swiss cheese. Aquatic locations, tether domes, basically tethered from the bottom of a aquatic location. Aquadesics, flotillas, submersibles, domes, and icebergs. Um, and then a bunch of stuff for transportation around habitats, from Z tubes to rickshaws, to boards, cable lines, private mobility. You own your own stuff, mag tracks, details about shit. It's getting late. Um, More habitat traits, little details about thoroughfares and locations from one place to another. D12 table, so you got a like an intersection of a might have utility services, and it may be maze-like, or it could be a shaft with used for freight shuttling that is curving. It could be a bridge for public transportation that is cramped, tight, or vaulted. That kind of stuff. Little random tables. Um, Random table for traits on baggage that player characters can acquire. Physical baggage, like being irradiated or being poisoned or being overstimulated, like being blinded, deafened, um, not being able to feel or smell. Mental baggage, things like dysmorphia or being apathetic or being tongue tied, stuff like that. Guilty. Thank you very much, Thirsty Sword Lesbians, for that. Social baggage, things like debts or making promises or being associated with problematic people, having people having had eavesdropped on your conversations. Maybe you become a target of the paparazzi, or you're stalked by one or more people or an organization. Maybe you have some kind of infamy. Your reputation is soiled, or there's mistrust. Mistrust is more like law enforcement, and infamy is more like public, like people don't like you. um there's gossip being spread about you, or maybe you just end up exposed. Maybe you're trying to hide and you're now exposed. Your motivations are exposed to everybody else due to your social encountering and stuff like that. um and then from here on, there's a list. I have a list of random bricks. It's two D12 D12 12. So one D12, the first D12 is the ones and tens column, and the second D12 is the hundreds and thousands column. And yes, I did write up random bricks for all of them, all the way down to 1,212 uh, in here, stuff like that. So, all right, we're almost done. How the turns have randomly tabled. That's all right. Yeah. Yes. Caligula says, excuse me, hives are like Swiss cheese. Yes. Here we go. Hive of cheese and villainy. So funny. Shai says, as I understand it, Kanakis just means man in some Pacific Islander language. Yes, but I think it was in modern Franca lingua, it was co-opted as something bad, but I'm like, no, that's something good. And Caligula's Palace Live says next week is all Obsidian. Yes, where we will zero down on specifics, very specific things. Because right now I'm doing a huge overview as I'm talking. Um, yeah, my how the turns have randomly tabled. Uh, you're being silly. So is being a space nerd considered baggage? In my firm, yes, I carry a lot of that baggage around with me. TA says, I believe it's from the concept of a player and a dealer and being dealt a crappy hand. Yes, because let me see if I can look this up. Blackbirding. So um blackbirding is the 19th and early 20th century practice of enslaving, often by force and deception, South Pacific Islanders on the cotton and sugar plantations of Queensland, Australia, as well as those of the Fuji and Samoan Islands. The kidnapped islanders were known collectively as Kanaka or Kanakas. Goes on to say blackbirding. The practice took place on a large scale with the taking of people indigenous to the numerous islands in the Pacific Ocean during the 19th and 20th centuries. And it was a coercion of people through deception or kidnapping to work as slaves or poorly paid laborers in the countries distant from their native land. So I'm pretty sure the term Kanakas was probably formed by the people who are engaging in the blackbirding itself. And what I'm saying in my practicing of it, it is these are individuals who are basically have taken space as their home and then turned it into they are no longer the abused individuals. They are like They're like the FU. If you want to join us, that's cool. Shai says here it is just a derogatory term for foreigners, usually Turks. Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. Ta Drew was being sarcastic, very sarcastic. Yeah, my how the turns have tabled instead of the tables have turned. Yeah, very much so. But yes, it is a permutation of a word turned into a derogatory term, which I'm taking and turning into a term of power and endearment, that kind of thing. So, yep. All right, guys, going too long. I've taken up too much of your time. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Some people have done that wrong. Yes. Yeah. Someone who's not familiar with how it's supposed to be worded will do that, especially if you're just not used to using it very often. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody, for being part of the show. Thank you very much for going this long. If you're going this long, please like, share, subscribe if you're brand new. If you're not, whatever, tell your friends and neighbors about it. Hell, tell one of your enemies about this show. They will appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I will take you out. Thank you very much for spending time. Next week will all be Obsidian Star. We'll zero down on specifics. A lot of the stuff is unfinished. I do have a lot of notes. Let's see if I can open up notes. I love handwritten notes, filling notebooks. Where's another notebook here? Got another notebook full of bullshit and all this kind of stuff. Basically, handwriting it down while I'm at work, and then coming out here, and then putting it, writing physically, typing the stuff out. It's a little bit daunting, but cool, very cool project. So before I start coughing again. Obsidian third week of January. Yeah. Yeah. Just I never have I ever. Happy day of this one slice of eternity, guys. Have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace.